Hey, me and Matt here, and I'm Killer Kyle. Welcome to another episode of Wheels of Fury. Hey, me and Matt here, and this is Killer Kyle, and welcome to another episode of Wheels of Fury. Now, we are going to start the new segment of Look Back at Year.
Right.
But, since King of the Ring has rejoiced and renewed, I guess,
Yes.
if you will, I figure let's do, finally, King of the Ring 2001.
Yes, and like I said, the evening has been a little bit chaotic, and the night's still young. So I figured, while we were doing at least this video, could use a little bit of a pick-me-up. And that's where he's going to play B-52 shots.
Black Lobster! Yeah. Awesome. I think we are going to use these last time when we did our review, attempted to do our play-by-play. The camera still is kind of not working properly, so it used to.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with the camera. Anyways.
Here we go. Let's throw over here. Saloche. Get her done.
So yeah, King of the Ring 2001. A very interesting pay-per-view to say the least.
And I thought that, because we did WrestleMania 17, we did some other 2001 pay-per-views, we will be doing the Survivor Series Invasion storyline, spoilers.
Yes.
So I thought, what the hell, let's go back 20 years once again.
Yes.
And we will talk about King of the Ring. And then I specifically remember ordering it on pay-per-view,
Yeah.
and it was actually quite good.
Yeah, 2001, that particular year, start to finish, from, they did the whole invasion angle thing, to, Survivor Series that year, which we'll talk about, and the whole year was very unpredictable.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the whole thing with WCW and in the beginning of WrestleMania where Vince buys his competition.
Yeah.
Which, like it or not, I don't even think it was a bad idea.
No.
I don't think WCW did itself any favors by staying in business. So I think, and we'll get to that when we get to that in the future.
Yeah.
Even ECW, it kind of fizzled out, and at this time you had Paul Heyman do commentary with Jim Ross, which actually will harken back to the early WCW days.
Yeah.
So.
And with the whole WCW going out of business when it did, and Vince buying it. Well, if you watch the rise and fall of WCW, it was talked about how when it was Jim Crockett Promotions, they were I don't remember the exact number, but they were like $3 million in debt or whatever it was. And then it became WCW. Eric Bischoff was executive at the time, and things slowly started to progress in the right direction for that company. And even though Jim Crockett Promotions was in debt at the time, you watched the product, you would never known it was, millions of dollars in debt. That's just how good the product was at the time. And especially when you take into consideration the caliber of talent that was in that company, and during the time like when Jim Crockett was in charge. You had the Road Warriors, you had Magnum TA, you had the Four Horsemen, you had a bunch of others.
Yeah.
And then when Jim Crockett sold the promotion, and then it became WCW, like I said, Eric Bischoff was brought in as executive producer, or just an executive anyways. And the product was still very, very good. And then slowly, they were getting out of debt. But then once WCW was heading towards the latter part of the 90s into the early 2000s, 2001, and then, it ultimately went out of business.
Yeah.
The main thing was finding a shooter for the product, like what network they would put it on, because I think Turner didn't want anything to do with WCW anymore. And then AOL got into the picture. Yes, we're talking that long ago, people. AOL. Anyways,
We're old as fuck.
and it was starting to go okay. Like, it was, you could tell the product was really in debt at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They were like massively over their heads, and there's a whole lot of hoopla as to like why certain things happened the way they did, and having certain wrestlers have creative control. And as the old saying goes, the inmates were basically running the asylum. And you have Eric Bischoff in charge of WCW, and you hear all these stories about how easy it was to get along with them. That's why they call him Eazy-E. But you got to be able to split the difference, let's say, between being your employee's friend and their boss.
Yeah.
And because Eric was solely focused on being everybody's pal and, all chummy with everybody, and, he was less concerned about being the boss, because he was, an executive with the company. That's when things and, he's spending Turner's money out the fucking wazoo.
Yep.
For, getting all these high caliber talent, your Scott Halls, your Kevin Nash's, your Hulk Hogan's, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior. The list goes on and on and on. Bret Hart, whoever else. And that just really, because of the fact that there was no fine line between, friend and boss, and not an even balance of the two, that's really when WCW started to suffer financially. And at this point, because they were suffering financially, the product was absolute fucking shit. I mean, you got the infamous finger poke-a-doom. You got fucking
Judy Bakewell on a pole match, bro.
forklift.
Forklift, whatever.
The match where they had the WCW Championship in a box, and the other 3 boxes, you had something else, and you got the championship.
Oh.
You got the box of the championship, you were the champion. Of course, Booker T was involved in that match. And he gets the last box, pulls it down, the fucking championship falls out of the bottom of the goddamn box. And of course, the nail in the coffin, as far as I'm concerned, fucking using a taser to end Goldberg's streak,
Shit.
which was very sloppily done, I might add.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And that's the main difference between Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff. And I know I keep harping on Vince and saying he's now a bad businessman, whatever. Back then, you couldn't touch him.
oh yeah, Vince was fucking untouchable back then.
And you have a guy like Eric Bischoff, yeah. WCW was in the ratings for quite some time,
Yes,
until fucking Mick Foley won a WWE title.
yeah.
Kudos to Shivani, just kidding. And so that's kind of, yeah, a ratings war. The main difference is WWF made their product better. And they tried to make their product better. Whereas WCW tried to destroy WWF.
And yeah,
Any way they
that's it. And you know, when you watch the Monday Night Wars, that's one thing that Vince said. My focus is, you know, the young talent, and you know, making our product good, you know, having the talent be good, good matches, high caliber talent, young talent, and you know, all around good company and good product. WCW's main concern was giving away the results of WWF Monday Night Raw, because they, at that point in time, were pre-taped. Yeah, just trying to put the WWF out of business.
Yeah.
Well, look how that went. Exactly. And I had said this to Matt when we were having a conversation before we did the video, was like he said, yeah, Vince buying out the product. One thing that was a big thing is if WCW had have been able to get a provider, I'll call it, a cable network company to buy WCW and keep them in business, get them out of debt, and get somebody in charge that'll put their foot down and say, enough is enough and blah 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 blah. Had WCW stayed in business, WWE wouldn't have ended up with Booker T, Rey Mysterio, Raven,
Paul White,
the Radicals, etc., etc.
No.
Well, no, the Radicals went there before,
Yeah.
but like the people that went to WWF, like during the invasion angle, but then ultimately stayed there when WCW went out of business, may not have been there had WCW still was in business today. Who knows? And like with the King of the Ring haven't been. They're doing another tournament of King of the Ring. You've also got now what they're calling the Queen's Crown, which is basically an all women's version of the King of the Ring, which is, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't have did the whole King Corbin shit. That which led into King Nakamura.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens, but I just think that this whole King Nakamura thing was retarded. Didn't need to happen. Did need to happen. Should have waited. Because now we have this. So does that mean that tonight, or whatever, Shinsuke is going to be dethroned, so to speak? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen in that aspect.
So,
Yeah.
before we start, I'd just like to say I want to see Braun Breaker have it out with the new Chucky.
that would be interesting.
Get her done.
Yeah.
So even before we begin, let's talk about the shit show that was Sarah Stalker.
Oh, yeah.
So you have this whole vignette. You have the whole vignette where you have these videos and this voice that scrumbles in the background is stalking Sarah, the Undertaker's ex-wife now.
Yeah, they had a good wife at the time.
And she's having a shower, or she's in the backyard playing with her mastiff, or she's taking in the groceries, doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then, the lead up, you have this guy coming out on a motorcycle, a la American Badass. He's got a helmet on. He comes into the ring, and he takes off his helmet slowly. And guess who it was?
Well, it wasn't necessarily a helmet, it was one of those pellicles ski mask things. And he comes in on the motorcycle, he's got one of those headset mics, and he's talking, and I think he's like, "You all been wondering who Sarah Stalker is," and asking all these questions, and it is something along those lines. Now, this whole big spiel, and then takes it, and it was, DDP. It's like, out of all the people you could have chosen for that role, DDP is the best you came up with. Like, no, I'm not taking anything away from the man, but like, to me, DDP does not fit the description of a fucking stalker.
You have other guys. You had Rick Steiner. You had Buff Bagwell. You had Raven. Diamond Dallas Page. The guy who was the original Power of Positivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this storyline was the shits. There was really no need for that. I understand that the WWE at the time was going through, what are we? Are we for children? Or are we for adults?
Yeah.
But this line, come on. There was no reason for that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And what the fuck did it get you? Oh yeah, Undertaker came out and beat the shit out of DDP. And then you go a few weeks later, you have Sarah pinning DDP a la Undertaker style.
Then you conclude it with Undertaker and Kane against DDP, and I think it was Chris Canyon.
Yeah.
In a cage match.
In the words of my man here, come on now. Are you serious? Like, seriously, there is no... And then, by the way, it wasn't DDP, it wasn't Diamond Dallas Page, it was Vince McMahon doing the voice. Apparently it was, I don't know. That's what they said on the interwebs. You don't believe a word they say, but whatever. Just a stupid storyline, and what happened after that? Nothing. He went on to the Invasion Angle storyline. And then he became a WWE superstar. He was the European champion.
Yeah.
He did a bunch of cool shit, but this was the worst. In my opinion, this should have never happened.
Talk about Vince doing the voice of the stalker when they were doing this whole vignettes. Reminds me back to, what was it, 96? 97? Fucking Ole Anderson doing the voice for Shockmaster.
Yep. That's fucked up.
I mean, maybe when they pitched the idea to Paige, maybe they did some, like, here, read this, and they must not have liked the deliverance of the script, let's say, and it didn't sound very stalker-ish, if you will, or whatever the case was. So they had Vince do it, and
You should have just brought back fucking Barry Windham.
yeah. And Vince already having that kind of gravelly voice.
Yeah.
You think back to those vignettes and you know that information, you can kind of picture it in a way.
Yeah.
But, anyways. Kick it into gear!
Yeah, so our first match, we have the semifinals. Christian versus Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
That was a pretty interesting match.
Yeah, a pretty decent match.
I mean, these two guys really took each other to the limit, like I always say. I know that Angle won with the ankle slam, but this was a time where Christian was starting to become on his own, and it slowly turned into that him turning on Edge shortly after this.
Yeah.
But this was not only Kurt's first match, but we'll get into one of the most talked about matches in WWE history.
Oh yeah, like, basically on this particular night, Kurt had, you could say, 3 matches.
Oh yes.
We'll get into the other 2 here in a moment. So yeah, Kurt won with the Angle And then you go to the other semifinal match. The Man Beast, the War Machine, Rhino against Edge.
The Spirit versus God!
One of these days you're gonna give yourself a fucking aneurysm or something.
It was an interesting match, and honestly, I was very impressed with. And it seems like Terry doesn't age.
Oh god, yeah, I know.
Like this guy, he was a jobber in WWF, but ECW, WCW, going into WWF as the Invasion storyline, TNA, Hardcore, House of Hardcore,
Huh?
I think.
No, it was Hard Justice.
Hard Justice, sorry.
House of Hardcore last time we was promotion.
But 46 years old, and he still looks like he's 25.
Oh yeah, he could still fucking go too.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's been in the biz now since 95, I want to say.
Yeah, no, yeah, 95.
95, 96.
About, yeah.
So, a little over, be 23 years, 24 years, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, 46 years old, and he can still kick ass.
But, obviously, Edge won.
Yes.
So, we already know that this was going to be the final King of the Ring match with Kurt Angle and Edge.
Well, you kind of jumped ahead. Oh, I
Because now we have a tag team match player.
know. You got
Kane and Spike Dudley versus the Dudley Boys.
yes. For many years, Spike, what has been said is Spike's half brothers, Bubba and Devon. They've feuded since fucking their days in WCW.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were times when they would, band together as a trio, and fuck, the three of them were great together, but even the matches against each other, like Bubba and Devon against Spike and, in this case, Kane, or Spike and Mikey Whipwreck, off the top of my head, or whatever,
Yeah.
were absolutely insane.
When you look at Kane, the guy that is primarily known as a tag team guy, you wouldn't think that by looking at him. But you have a guy who was with Spike Dudley, Rob Van Dam, Undertaker, Bryan Danielson, Hurricane. I know I'm missing a couple, but still, X-Pac.
Yeah, X-Pac.
This guy was a great tag team wrestler. I just wish he would have had the WWF title a bit longer than he did. And I said that before, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the way I see it. And then you got the Dudley Boys, former WCW, ECW, WWF champions, probably tag team champions elsewhere. I always get them confused with Road Warriors for some reason.
Oh yeah, like Road Warriors held many titles in their careers, but yeah, like Matt said, WCW, ECW, WWF, TNA, IWGP Heavyweight Tag Champions.
That's right, yes.
Just tag teams all over the place, and multiple times as well. Like, the ECW tag titles 8 times. They held the WCW tag titles twice or 3 times, I'll say.
Yeah.
The WWF tag titles, actually, I think it was 9 times in WCW, and then like 2 or 3 in WCW. WWF tag titles, I think like 10. So I believe TNA tag titles 4 or 5 times, or maybe 6 times, I don't remember. And like the IWGP tag team titles once to my knowledge, maybe twice. And I'd be like, these are just rough numbers, so if you want to know for sure, you can Wikipedia it. But like overall, they've held tag team championships in their career spanning from WCW to TNA, or ECW to TNA,
Yeah.
23 fucking times.
Oh, I know. And I mean, it's kind of a shame that we didn't see them with singles championships in WWF.
True.
So, I mean, that sucks. But you look at Spike Dudley in the transformation from going from his ECW style character onto when he turned heel. And I can't remember who he teamed with.
Yeah.
And then his time in TNA is runs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, such a good match. Dudley Boys obviously retained the tag titles.
Right.
I mean, I can't even imagine Spike and Kane with the titles for a short period of time, even.
Kane and Spike, just as odd or more of an odd couple than fucking Kane and Bryan. But I mean, Kane and Bryan fucking work, so who knows if Kane and Spike would work. Anyways, yeah. So like Matt said, go to the finals of the Kurt versus Edge. A fairly solid match, fairly decent match. Got the spear against the ankle lock,
The ankle slam.
ankle slam.
And I mean, these guys have a history.
Oh yeah.
Well, mostly 2001, 2003, at least.
Yeah.
During that time, they had some epic matches. And they also had some epic tag team matches. But the fact is, these two guys had amazing chemistry, especially ENC and Kurt Angle, or whatever you want to call that team.
Oh yeah. When, Edge and Chris were doing the whole 5-second pause thing, what they did together was funny, but you throw Kurt in there, oh god. Fucking comedy gold.
And that's the thing. Kurt Angle is a comic. I don't want to say genius, that's pushing it. He is comic gold.
Like, later on in his career, and, when he went to TNA, he was more, the Angle you saw early on in his career in the WWF. More serious, more straight-laced, more, the suit wrestler, and
Yeah.
the Olympian, and, multiple-time world champion and all this other stuff. But yeah, you give him anything comedic-wise, and he'll take it and run with it.
Oh.
Whether
yeah.
it be freaking with like the Edge and Christian, or the shit he did with Austin, or Edge one time with the pictures and I suck. Whatever it was friggin' comic gold.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Edge won,
Yeah, Edge won.
becoming the King of the Ring 2001. And his promo totally reeks of royalty. Christian get the champagne. And this was actually the beginning of the end for Edge and Christian. Because obviously, Christian got jealous, so to speak, and
Yeah.
they had an epic feud after that for the
Oh, yeah.
Intercontinental title. But then, of course, the shit with Christian joining the Alliance for some reason. And
Yeah.
I think it was more or less, as Brian Zane put it, it was more or less they were just feuding against each other. That had nothing to do with the Invasion versus WWF. But I don't know how that works, whatever. We have the Light Heavyweight Championship match. We've got X-Pac versus Jeff Hardy. Earlier in the night, we had Matt Hardy had the dark match for, I can't remember who it was. He took it on for the European Championship. And yeah, the Light Heavyweight Championship was the first toy title I got.
Of course, the light heavyweight title was the predecessor to the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yeah, it was a good title.
Yeah.
And you had some really good talent there. Christian, obviously, X-Pac, Jeff Hardy, Taka Michinoku, Gilbert. And so I think this was a pretty good match too.
Yeah.
And X-Pac retained the title.
We got to the most talked about, most physical, most brutal, savage, ugly bowling shoe, ugly car wreck of a match you would ever see in your life at this point in time in 2001. The infamous King of the Ring 2001 match with Kurt Angle, like I said, his third match of the night, and Shane McMahon.
Oh yeah.
And holy fucking shit balls, did this match go off the rails in a fucking hurry. At one point, you have Angle suplex Shane on the floor, breaking his tailbone.
Oh god, yeah.
They still fucking continued. And at one point, Angle was going belly to belly suplex Shane through this glass onto the stage.
Yeah.
Said King of the Ring. Okay, yeah. So he goes through him. He can't get enough on it because, you know, his tailbone's broken. Can't muster, you know, get his hips properly underneath Shane to, you know, apply enough oomph into the throw to get him through the glass. And Shane hits him right on the top of his head, back of his head, on the frickin' steel stage. Thought almighty, how was he not knocked the fuck out?
Oh, I know he was, for a fact. I mean, I watched that match in real time, and I'm thinking to myself, how is his body not a fucking pillow by now?
Yeah, so they do it again. He finally goes through, and then it's like, alright, we're gonna do it again. And, you know, go out the other, you know, same thing on the far side. You know, Kurt goes to throw Shane, fucking doesn't go through, comes down again. This time not directly on his head, but a little, you know, further up on his shoulders. And, you know, the thing that Shane such an angle, you know, just to kind of pass him off, you could say, and fire him up, is like, put some mustard behind it, you pussy, or something along those lines. And of course, that pissed Kurt off, and, you know, Kurt tried it again, didn't work, so he's finally like, fuck it, grabs Shane, picks him up, throws him through the glass face first, it breaks.
Oh god, yeah.
And they work their way back to the ring, and fucking, they're standing on this piece of plywood on the corner. It's wobbling like a motherfucker. They're trying to balance on it, and, you know, Kurt takes over Shane with a angle slam from off of that, and Kurt finally got the win. But it was like, holy fuck. Like, just the shit that they went through in that match. And, you know, at one point, you know, the referees always have communication with gorilla position. And, you know, Vince is like fuming mad trying to get them to stop the match. And Shane was like, no, we're not stopping. We're going to keep going. We're going to finish this match. And, you know, I think the referee was Mike Chioda, I believe.
Yeah.
And, you know, Chioda was like vehemently trying to get them to stop the match. And Shane was like, no, we're going to finish this fucking thing. They finished. And apparently Vince was so pissed, I think he left the arena or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, too. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? Your kid's a daredevil. And yeah, was that match a little bit much? I don't think so. I mean, they did what they had to do. Yeah, they, you know, and that's the thing, too. So you talk about the glass. It was sugar glass. And the only reason they did that is because you have the fire coming up, and you didn't want the glass to break.
Yeah.
Problem is, it's fucking hard. You can't put your fist through it.
Well, technically that's actually a false normer, because sugar glass is actually pretty easily breakable. Like, it would have went better and smoother and only taken like one attempt, both sides, had Kurt not injured himself on the suplex onto the floor. Like I said, he broke his tailbone. If that hadn't happened, things would have went smoothly. One throw, boom, through the glass, breaks, go to the other side, another throw, out, and then carry on. But because, you know, Kurt was in a lot of pain, he couldn't get enough behind the throw to get, you know, create enough momentum, so that it was basically be Shane's momentum and his body breaking the glass.
Yeah.
And so that's why, on the first go through, when Shane hit, he came down on the top of his head. They did it again, and on the second attempt, he went through. And then, like I said, go back through, and Curtis went through Shane, face first through it, and yeah, it was.
The thing is, you have Shane, I think it was Shane, saying that he had Pittsburgh's famous beer on ice for when the match was over.
Mm.
And, they were all happy about it. They're happy, being that it was a very good match to them. And
Yeah.
so he asked for Vince, and they're like, yeah, he left.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe he got chewed out afterwards.
Oh, I'm sure Shane probably did get chewed out afterwards. And when you look at it both ways, you kind of have an understanding. Vince wanting the match to be stopped because, he's witnessing his own son, land on the top of his own fucking head, 240 pounds on your skull on a steel fucking entranceway isn't pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And then, all this other stuff. And, you look at it from the performer's standpoint, Shane's standpoint. Every performer's mindset is, it don't matter how fucking injured you are, you finish no matter what. And I think that was the only thing going through Shane's mind. I'm hurting, I'm more than likely concussed, but we're going to fucking finish this match, no matter what.
Yeah, and that's the thing, And I know that sometimes that logic don't make sense. But it's true. When you start something, you have a bunch of people watching you that paid their hard-earned money to watch a performance of a lifetime or whatever. You want to give them their fucking money's worth.
Oh, absolutely,
And
100%.
you don't stop until you finish a match. Like nowadays, they're fucking pussies.
Mhm.
Oh, somebody got injured. We have to stop the match. Oh, this happened. We have to stop the match. They went until they couldn't go no more. And they had a decisive winner. Which was Kurt Angle.
Yes. Now, the thing is, there have been some instances where stopping the match was the right call to make. You look at, what would it have been now? 6 years ago, I'll say 6, 7 years ago, somewhere in there. And it was, I think, Big Cass and Enzo against maybe like the Vaudevillains or something like that. Fucking sling Enzo into the ropes. He hits the bottom rope and gets knocked the fuck out. And an ugly ass fucking landing. And yeah, they stopped him out. He was fucking legit injured and like I said, knocked the fuck out. And you think ropes don't hurt? Yeah, ass fucking Enzo got his ass knocked the fuck out, going face and head first into them.
Oh, that's fucking scary, man.
I reach you, Mr. I reach you, Mr. I reach you, Mr. I reach you.
You have the WWE title. Got Stone Cold Steve Austin, fresh off his heel gimmick.
Yeah.
This guy who sold his soul at WrestleMania 17, joined forces with Triple H, came two-man power trip, one of the best take teams of the 2000s, in my opinion. Then, of course, Triple H got injured. They lost the take team titles to Benoit and Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, a few weeks before this match, Austin cost them the take team titles against the Dudley Boys.
Right.
So, yeah, there was a triple threat match. And, I mean, for what it was pretty cool. My whole thing was, and I'm gonna be a sour taste in people's mouths, but fuck it, I don't care. I don't think I would have put the hurt on WWE if they would have given Chris Benoit the WWE title.
True.
You look at a year before, Chris Benoit had a rivalry with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
They had, I'm not sure how many matches, for the WWE title. WWF title, whatever.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have killed them to have Chris Benoit hold the title once. Yes, it was fresh into WWF with the Radicals and everything. And yes, he had a lengthy Intercontinental title career.
Yes.
But this was a perfect opportunity to put the strap on him.
Yeah.
I know that Chris Jericho had the title for, 24 hours.
Mm.
Fuck you, Levesque. And there was a lot of, like, I don't know, just kind of what could have been, should have. I don't even know.
Nah.
I mean, despite what happened years later, it could have worked.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this was a good match nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You can come up with there's a bunch of different scenarios for putting the title on Benoit at this point in time, but, they didn't for whatever reason. This match, though, was a fairly good match. And, each individual wrestler in this match, Austin, Jericho, Benoit, having each their own various different style. Jericho more the high-flying, Benoit the mat-based style, and Austin, you're just straight-up brawler. Like, he could go technical, but he was more the brawler. And that dynamic really made for a good match. And, you have Austin retain the title, which is fine. But, yeah. You can have, various different reasonings, scenarios, what ifs,
Yeah.
to put the title on Benoit at this period of time in 2001. But it was what it was.
Yeah, and I mean, there was that spot where you had Austin being put in the walls of Jericho, also the crippler crossface at the same time.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. They have the spot where Austin was put through a table, very low. It ended up, he smacked his head on a chair by Booker T,
Yeah.
who came up through the crowd. Now, obviously, it wasn't Booker's fault. He didn't know how Austin was going to land.
No.
And apparently Austin said he should have ducked or did something. I don't even know.
Yeah, so he ducked his head or tucked his chin or something, and yeah. Bad landing, nonetheless, and yeah.
But anyways, this was a good match, and Austin ended up retaining the title.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, this was an interesting pay-per-view. I really think that it's one of the better King of the Ring pay-per-views.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there may have been some people that may not necessarily have been the biggest fan of Edge being King of the Ring, but you take into consideration of, like, how good he was comedy-wise,
Yeah.
and then, it led into split of Edge and Christian, and then, them going and having really good singles careers,
The thing that really pisses me off is the fact that I thought when you win the King of the Ring, you get a shot at the WWE title at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I don't know if that was, like, really a set in stone type of thing.
Because I know it worked for Owen.
Yeah.
He lost, unfortunately. Brock Lesnar became the first youngest WWE champion, and that was cool. yeah, the kind of the in-between thing. Austin didn't get his WWE Championship when he should have, maybe, or, Triple H, or, the list goes on and on. And obviously Nelson Frazier would have been the shits, but yeah, this was interesting how 2001, like it or not, in my opinion, had a lot of really good pay-per-views.
Yeah, it did. And see, that's my point of, King of the Ring, you eventually get a world title shot. It doesn't really seem to have been the case. Like, it's not one of those things like Royal Rumble. You win the match and you get a guaranteed title shot at WrestleMania. Now, for those people that did win King of the Ring, would it have made sense to eventually give them a title opportunity? Yes. But that's not necessarily to say, oh, King of the Ring, you win the King of the Ring, you set yourself on the right track to being WWF champion or WWE champion. To me, it doesn't work like that. Now, over the last, I'll say a good 10 years, the King of the Ring seems to have been a fucking gigantic curse. Because you look at the people that have won King of the Ring, and their career has basically taken a absolute fucking shit in the toilet. Hi, Happy Corbin! Yeah. Maybe one instance that you could not necessarily use that for, maybe two. Sheamus did eventually become WWE champion, so in that aspect, his career wasn't really cursed all that much. Other than that, over the last little while, yeah, people that have been King of the Ring, they've gone absolutely fucking nowhere.
It's a damn shame, because Wade Barrett had it. William Regal had it. So what the fuck happened?
Yeah, okay, with Wade Barrett, yes, he had it. Why they didn't pull the trigger with him, I don't know. In the case of Regal, though, I mean, okay, he was general manager of Raw at the time. Then they had him win the King of the Ring tournament. And so that made him, a big heel at that point in time. And everybody hated him. Maybe if you wanted to, put the icing on the cake, you could have put the championship on him and really, pissed a lot of people off. And oh my god, he's in charge of Raw. He's the King of the Ring. He's champion. Oh god, what the hell,
Yeah, I guess.
But aside from that, yeah.
Excuse me.
We will see what happens in the, few weeks to come prior to the Ring.
Hell yeah. I mean, Matt has killed Kyle. And now we will leave you with a famous tune that had the top of the charts in 2001. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. We got Olympic gold. We got Olympic gold. We got Olympic gold. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Deuces.